and welcome to the Golden Hour and the Manifest to Live Life Golden podcast and YouTube show. I'm Golden Duffy, your host, and today we are talking about abundance. I know I have done shows about this before, but I'm really feeling the energy of 2025 being this huge up level for all of us. For those of us who are interested in tuning into the abundance that is our birthrights. Now, if you don't understand that, it's hard to understand because maybe you were born into poverty and maybe you've never had a financial position that felt like abundance. I'm going to help you clean that up today, because if you don't believe that abundance is your birthright, or if you don't believe abundance is possible for you, then it's going to be next to impossible to achieve. So this is about shedding those belief systems, letting go of the old stories, and stepping fully into the abundance that you are worthy of. Now, by abundance, I don't always mean money. I mean a frequency that allows you to do what you want to do when you want to do it. So it's really, abundance really does equate to freedom. The freedom that we have to create, the freedom that we have to move around the world, the freedom that we have to go on vacation, the freedom that we have to do many different things. So I just got back from vacation. If you can't tell, I'm a little tan. And I'm going to share a little bit later in the show what that was like, because it was literally the most epic vacation that my family has ever been on. And it was such really precious time together as a family. And really, we were just able to unplug. So I don't want to share it in the beginning of the show in case that completely bores you and you're not interested in what I'm doing. But there were some really interesting lessons and energies that I tuned into that really gave me new awarenesses. So I wanted to share that, and I'll share that towards the end of the show. But for right now, I also have a few other things I'm going to share towards the end of the show, but for now, I'm going to give you the real nitty gritty on this abundance and what may be blocking you. So as we grow up, we're given these belief systems and this energy from our parents or from our grandparents or from our generational lineage. So the lineage of what we grew up in very much signifies what we will create in this world. Unless we figure this out, become aware, and let it go. Like, I was thinking about this today because my family never really went on vacation. We did some vacations to Florida. My grandparents lived down in Florida, and we did like a big vacation, a Disney World vacation in the year 2000. And for 5 years, my parents gave us nights in the hotel room to pay for that trip. So I never really had that experience of going to tropical places or going to really different places. We would take little trips, like weekend trips to Maine or Massachusetts, or, mostly East Coast stuff, but I never traveled. I really didn't travel with my parents. Like, the biggest travel I think we did was Florida. So we stayed on the East Coast. And after thinking about that, and the fact that my husband and I really didn't travel with our kids very much, we did one really big trip, a cruise, when they were little. And then being able to do this trip with them. We did a Puerto Rico trip as well when they were a little bit older, which is like an epic memory for all of us. It was an incredible trip that we did for like 10 days back in, I think that was 2011, maybe 13. I can't remember. But we didn't do a lot of vacationing. So if you grew up doing a lot of vacationing and seeing a lot of tropical places and things, I think that it changes the way that you feel when you go on vacation. I know a lot of my friends that go on vacation every year with their family and their kids. And because we haven't done a lot of it, my kids really appreciate it. We really appreciate it. And I think that gives us a greater capacity for joy, because we don't have, this big bucket of travel and experiences and all of that to draw from. We were really present and really felt like it was precious time. And also the property we stayed in was like beyond. So recognizing that's what I grew up in, and it didn't facilitate this feeling of freedom and travel and having the wherewithal to do that, to be in a financial position to do that, really kind of gave me pause, because now we're in a position where we're going to blow through the ceiling of what our parents grew up in. And we both have already done this already, or what we've experienced as kids. My husband grew up in a family where they really lived week to week, and they really didn't have extra money or savings or, travel funds to go on trips with. So to see this and to come together in a team way, we're definitely a team, and experience breaking through these ceilings. So we've broken through these ceilings a few times and we're about to do it again. But these ceilings where you feel like, okay, this is where I'm at in life. This is how my financial positioning has been. So I can't really go beyond that because I've got a job and the job pays me a certain amount of money, and I could get a little raise maybe. But then every time I get a raise, it seems like I up level my life, my life, and then the raise is gone, right? So then I just end up in the same position where I'm paying, my bills and living week to week and never really having anything extra to enjoy or to create that freedom that I'm after, that abundance really does signify. So there's a ceiling. So I want you to think about what your ceiling is and where you've been. Now, this is really, really important information to contemplate, because this is something that my husband and I think we just really become super aware of. And I think it's going to change everything. So it's about having systems in place. So manifestation is this kind of airy fairy law, right? Like it's a law. It's a scientific law for sure. But it's kind of this airy fairy thing where it feels kind of magical when you manifest something. You feel super powerful. You feel like, oh, there's definitely like universal orchestration and support for me out there. But what we don't really understand is, or maybe you do understand this, that the systems that you put in place and the actions that you take really signify what comes to you, and what you demand or command of divine energy or universal orchestration really matters. So it's about getting out of this energy of, I'm on my own, I have to do this by myself, I got to figure this out, and that desperate energy, into a new place where you are literally calling on divine energy. You're calling on universal orchestration. So I've recently been reading the book by Florence Scovel Shinn called The Game of Life and How to Play It. I actually got all of her writings in one book. And she was a speaker in the 40s. I've talked about her before, really super interesting. And she would do demonstrations for people where she would call in something in their life that they were looking to create. And the principles that she shares, they're very biblical. She has a lot of Bible references, but the principles that she shares are so interesting. I find them, like the way that she explains energy and what we are karmically bringing into our life by what we are sending out. One thing that has really stuck with me and really made me just interested in this idea is that when we condemn someone for something, then we will be sure to do it. So it's like that judgment, right? Like casting the judgment on others and then having to receive that judgment ourselves, because we are, what you send out is what you get back. That's the law of attraction, right? So I found that really, helpful when you think about, when you talk about what's wrong with someone or what they're doing that's terrible or whatever, there's something in that for you to learn from that lesson. And instead of like criticizing and condemning, what can I learn from that is always a good question to ask. So in the abundance ceiling, asking yourself and getting clarity so that you can put actions and systems in place. So really cool, on our vacation, we did a little bonfire one night, and it was actually the full moon, which is really amazing that we were together during the full moon in this incredible property. And we went around and we talked about what we're going to manifest, what we are manifesting in the next year. So we went financial, career, and then fun. What are you doing in the next year that'll be fun? What are you doing to enhance your skills or improve yourself? And what are you doing financially? What does that look like? And then we broke it down even further and said, what do we need to do to get there? Because if you don't do that, then it's really airy fairy thinking. It really is. It doesn't have a lot of energy output when you just say, I am going to be a millionaire, and don't ever say going. I am a millionaire is the correct thing. Because if you say going, then you're putting it way out here. So if ever you are doing affirmations, always stick with I am and not I am going to. I am. So make it present tense. I am standing in that belief right now. That is who I am. And then it's asking yourself, what does that look like? If I'm identifying with someone who's a millionaire, what does that look like? Who do I have to become? What do I have to wear? How do I have to talk? How do I have to feel about my bills? How do I have to feel about travel? How do I have to feel about my life experience to actually become that person who identifies with that, abundance ceiling of millionaire ship? Okay, so the abundance ceiling, looking at your abundance ceiling and asking yourself, where have you tapped out or capped out? Or do you have a cap that you haven't really surpassed because you've kept yourself kind of safe and kind of the same and kind of in the and maybe you don't want financial positioning. Maybe you don't want any more financial positioning. Maybe you're like, I'm good with this. I actually had a friend a while ago, and she lived in a place, and it was like $1,000 a month, and it was this tiny little room, but she was like, literally, she can just like hop down to the beach. Like, incredible place that she lives in, Orange County, where I live. And she said to me that first of all, she had fear. She was fearful that the landlord at some point would increase the rent or kick her out because they had family members that wanted to live there. And then she didn't know what she would do because she was living on a very fixed income. And she didn't really and she had a skill. Now, she had a really cool skill that I'm not going to share because I don't want to be specific, but she had a cool skill that she could share. She could scale and she could grow and she could experience more. She could break through a financial ceiling, but she wasn't interested in that. She's like, my life is okay. I'm getting by. And if that's you, that's totally fine. But I don't know that you'd be listening to this show if you felt that way, because in this human experience, spiritual experience, we are designed to expand and grow and become more. So one of the major reasons why people become depressed or get down is because they aren't putting enough life force into life. They're just kind of getting by every day. They're not calling themselves to new experiences. They're not getting out there saying yes to life and really expanding and growing. When we expand and grow, when we say yes to life, when we get uncomfortable, that's when most of our growth happens. That's when most wisdom is downloaded to us, is when we walk through the fears, we get over this hump of getting to the other side of what we want to create. And I know this because moving from Connecticut to California, which was the only home that we ever knew, and moving to California was one of the most expanding and growing experience and most challenging experiences of our life. But I can't imagine if we hadn't done it. Like, our life is so good because we said yes to that, and we have grown and expanded, and it's given me so much to share with other people, to remind them. I mean, just being so reminded of our power in moments of despair, moments where we had no idea how we were going to pay rent, or moments of real uncertainty of putting our girls in a school they never went to, or moments of real fear of like, how are we going to make it? How are we going to get through this really challenging time? There's no money left, being in that ceiling of desperation. That was our ceiling of desperation that we needed to break through in order to get to the other side. And it took us probably, I'm going to say like 5 years. It really took us to get our footing, really get our grounding, and really step into the abundance. But we were acting as if throughout the way. So we would go to like these really fancy art galleries, and the people that were there, and this is how I know that we were really stepping into the identity, because they treated us as if we could buy these, $100,000 paintings. So, when you put yourself in positions like that, where you are being part of a very abundant world, when you drive by a really beautiful car and you go, wow, that is so beautiful and I love it so much, like, that's luxury, I'm witnessing luxury, instead of, that rich person that sucks and I can't afford that, and God, it must be nice. Once you shift into that appreciation and gratitude for that luxurious automobile or beautiful home or whatever it is, then you clean up that blockage that's going to keep you from actually creating. When you're jealous of people, when you feel like it's not fair, all of those energies they block you from the abundance. When you are excited about people's blessings, when you are excited about them getting to go on vacation, that's when you know that you're in the field of abundance, because you are celebrating someone else's success. That's really a super important principle when it comes to breaking through an abundance ceiling. So we've been looking at our abundance ceiling and where it is in our life that we've never surpassed before. And looking at that, and everything we've done up until this point has contributed to a beautiful life, a life full of abundance, but it's not true freedom. And I think we experienced true freedom when we were just on vacation, where we were able to do whatever we wanted, and we were in this gorgeous place. And, you know, every day was like freedom, to snorkel and kayak and swim and laugh and dance and be together. In fact, this morning, so we're on this like super private island, and we have music going and we're just dancing. My daughter, I think she danced for like 2 hours, literally just dancing. So this morning I'm at the gym and I'm just dancing at the gym, and I'm like, wow, I've lost all of my limitation and my self-consciousness. I'm like, I'm gonna dance in this gym. I don't even care who sees me or what they think, but and I've got my headphones in so they can't even hear my music, but I don't care anymore. It's like my body needs to move. It feels so good to do that. So we got a little taste of that, a big taste of that. And now it's like, okay, where can we go from here and how do we do it? So recently we've decided that I'm going to get on board with my husband, and we're going to be this more of a team in his business to upscale and restructure and really scale the business to a point that we've never done before. And I believe that me coming on board is really instrumental, because if my husband doesn't feel like he's so alone in it and he's not, trying to do everything on his own, it's going to free up energy. It's going to free up. And we're excited. Like, we're talking about it all the time. We're doing seminars together. It's super duper. It's really fun and it's really exciting. But we didn't do that before. So we didn't have those systems in place before. And that's where we're going now, to get systems in place to actually say, okay, this is our target. This is what we've decided for ourselves. And we're figuring out how to do it. So we're being guided to do it, but we believe that even the guidance that we're getting at this point was part of a manifestation that we were both asking for, that we wanted to go to the next level. So the first part is the desire, right? You desire to be abundant. You desire for your life to change. Then the second part is inviting in divine energy. I think this is the part that a lot of people miss, because they feel alone. They feel like, if it's up to me, it's like the setting goal. It's the old way of doing things. It's like setting goals and making it happen. And it's not calling in that spiritual aspect of yourself to really assist and to support you and to make alignments for you and to create universal orchestration. So it's inviting in that divine energy. And it's creating that demonstration that I talked about by asking, commanding, this is what I would like. And I am inviting you in to assist me in creating this. And then it's the third step is watching the energy field to see where the flow is. This may be an inspiration, an idea, a person that you meet. Following your intuition is super important. It was funny. I was actually reading on the beach about intuition and following your intuition. And I suddenly had an intuition to get up and go for a walk down the beach. And I ended up meeting up with my husband, who I thought was in the house that I wanted to go talk to. And then there he was. And I was like, that was like so immediate, following my intuition. So those may seem little, but those little things really do add up to creating a life that is everything you've been asking for. But one of the things that really trips you up is just not following that intuition, not following the guidance, being in fear, and not saying yes to life. So we got the third step, right? Then the fourth step is putting yourself in some sort of action. So it's like getting yourself out there in every way that you possibly can, through, marketing or research or a class or something that unifies you with the field of the energy that you are interested in being a part of. So unification of the field is when you say yes and you do something that tells divine energy, universal energy, whatever you like to call it, tells that energy field that you are serious and that you are ready to move forward on it. Sitting there and waiting does not, waiting weights the energy down. It makes the energy dense and heavy, and it doesn't contribute to this wave of energy flowing for you. So getting out, doing something, going somewhere, whatever it is. I remember way back in the day when I did network marketing, I would just go out and go to the coffee shop and like be on my computer doing things, but I was out and about where people were, and I could potentially, and always I would bump into people, always. I mean, that's when I lived where I knew a lot of people too. So super interesting. Get out there, do something. That's the action step. And then the fifth part of this abundance ceiling breakthrough is when you decide that you're going to break through this ceiling, you have to change your responses to things. So as things are happening to you, you want to become a different person in the response area, because the response area is what's going to tell the next moment what to bring you. So if an unexpected bill comes and you freak out about it and you get all upset and you get all anxious like you always do, you're not telling that field of energy that you are aligned with abundance. So your ceiling is going to stay the same. It's going to keep you right where you are. So growing, becoming new, how can I respond to this in a different way? How would an abundant person respond to this? How would a person with the ceiling that with the new ceiling that I've created, right? This new idea, this new energy, this new financial positioning I'm excited to be a part of. How would that person respond? What would they do? Because honestly, our responses are very triggered and they're very habitual. So your responses so often are just a neural loop in your brain, and they're usually tied to wounds or triggers. I'm going to give you a good story about that. I got a good story about that. So knowing that whatever you grew up with, the poverty, the never having enough, I mean, definitely in my family, we definitely had, kind of a medium type of thing, but my dad loved going out to dinner. He loved, really nice, beautiful food. So that would make him feel abundant. And he would say all the time, so my favorite food in the whole world is lobster. And he would always say to me, I have ruined you. These are some of the things I had to overcome. I've ruined you for your husband. Like, I've spoiled you because now lobster is your favorite food. And I'm like, well, I married a man and I can have lobster whenever I want. So no, not ruined here, right? But created a ceiling for me that made me go, okay, I believe that I can afford to go out to beautiful restaurants and have beautiful food. That was definitely a belief that I got from my dad, even though he had all these, different sayings and things that were not helpful that I had to release. So in understanding that and coming through that now, it's about stepping forward into what is that new. Where am I going to raise the bar now? Where do I want to go now? What is the luxury that I want to experience? What is the freedom that I want to experience? What would I like to feel? How would I like to get this monkey off my back all the time that feels like, I'm just penny pinching, and I mean, I know people that have lots of money, like wealth, and they're still penny pinching and feeling like it's never enough and scared they're going to run out. So it's about working in that field of cleaning up that energy and understanding that you are the one. You are the one that is in charge of what's coming to you. You and divine energy, your divine counterpart, which is your assistance, the support that you call in. That is what is in charge. I had somebody recently, yesterday, ask me for money on Facebook, and they're building an orphanage in somewhere, Ghana or something. And I thought to myself, and I may respond, I'm not sure, but your energy, your money, your abundance doesn't come from me. You asking me for money doesn't really make sense. Ask divinity for your money. That's where it all comes from. That's where our supply comes from, right? So believing in that supply and believing that you have a way to it, that is not being kept from you. It's only being blocked by you. It's not being kept from you. It's just being blocked by you. Then you can actually open the floodgates to all of it by deciding, by putting some energy forth, by setting up some systems, and by believing that you are worthy of it. The biggest thing usually is worthiness for people, like really believing they're worthy of it, or that they're not selfish for wanting it, or those beliefs around wealthy people being terrible people. Like, why would you ever want to be a wealthy person if you thought a wealthy person was terrible? Right? So putting your ideas around abundance being freedom, abundance being the ability to do what you want when you want to do it, those are great ways to kind of change the way you think about it, instead of thinking about, oh, I just need money to save me. Have you ever thought that? Like, I just need to win the lottery. My son-in-law currently is playing the lottery like nobody's business because he would like to just live on a tropical island, which I get. I totally get. My husband bought some too. But honestly, like, winning the lottery, as great as it is, if you've ever watched the lottery shows, a lot of those people end up going broke. It doesn't really show you how powerful you are in the creation of it, right? If you just win, if somebody just gives you a couple $1,000,000, it doesn't feel the same as creating the ideas and creating the energy around creating that kind of money. So as much as we want people to just dump money in our lap, it's not the same as the expansion and growth that we get when we do it on our own. So I was going to share a story now and I forgot what it was. Hang on one second. Let me drink some water and see if it comes. All right, so we'll just move on with the abundance ceiling. So in your ceiling, you're going to ask yourself where you're at right now and what your beliefs are around that energy that has created maybe some blockages in the flow. And then ask yourself, what could I do that would really bring me like passion and joy and potentially another financial stream? So one idea that I had when we were sitting around the fire and talking about what we were going to manifest, I said, I'm looking to create income with my show this year because I have like 25,000 viewers now. So I can do that. And I've really blocked myself by saying I don't want to do commercials. I don't want to have ads. I've blocked myself. And it's like, well, what does that look like if I'm able to choose it? So I thought, well, I could get all the products that I love, that I've researched, these really clean and healthy and beautiful products that I use that I'm really in love with. And I could share those and create an income stream through ads or sponsorship with that. So if you have a product or something that you love and you want to share it with me and I love it and you want to be part of the show, I'm going to be doing that in 2025 because why not? Why not create multiple streams of income that creates more and more abundance and also collectively creates a consciousness around where we're going, cleaning up our lives, cleaning up our products, and becoming, super, super healthy. Health is abundance, right? Health and wealth is abundance. Like, if you're not healthy, you pretty much have nothing. We've seen a lot of people that are super wealthy, and then if they get sick and they can't enjoy their life, then what's the point? So health is definitely huge in the abundance line of thinking. Okay. Whew. All right. So right now this show's flying. Okay. I'm just going to share. I love to share stories with people, and I love to, if you come to me with something, I love to be able to give advice on the show because it is a great way, because I feel like a lot of us go through a lot of similar things. So I got an email while I was away. Tell me I didn't erase it. Here it is. Okay, cool. Okay, so this is a question. I have a question for you. I've been thinking about how our brains are wired. We get into established patterns and pathways and need to establish new ones to create change. I was wondering if the old patterns and pathways can get so overwhelmed that they short circuit and propel you into new pathways. The last 2 years have been very overwhelming, just hit with one thing after another. I've gotten to the point where I don't have the fear, panic, or dread in the pit of my stomach. And I'm not sure it was intentional, other than my constant questioning of what am I supposed to learn that I am obviously not learning. I find myself in a very interesting place. To give you an example, by running through the last week, I really don't, just giving you the facts. On Friday, my husband had a biopsy on his prostate. He's been having issues. We were We were there literally ready to go. Then the anesthesiologist came back into the room and said, in September, you had a stress test indicating blockage, so the biopsy was canceled and a heart cath is scheduled for Monday. The heart cath showed that he has an artery that is 70% blocked. They didn't do anything because of the biopsy. He had the biopsy this past Friday. We will get results today or tomorrow. And at the end of dealing with the prostate, he will have another stent put in. I am totally calm. This is such a strange feeling that I check in to make sure that I am, one, not in denial. Two, I'm not dead inside, which makes me laugh. So I don't think that's it, but totally different from my usual. It definitely feels like an up leveling. It just feels as if it happened spontaneously, like it just got to be so much that I short circuited. Well, you definitely didn't short circuit, but what happens is when we have all these traumas, now I just want to share her husband actually got the results and he does not have cancer. So that is great news. What happens when we get so much, now she's had a lot of tragedy in the last few years, like one thing after another, and she's been asked to really expand and grow and really step into positions she didn't think she would be in this part of her life. So when that happens, we don't short circuit, but what we do is we start to connect with our remembering of who we really are and the faith. So once we connect with faith, then we have no resistance. We're non-resistant living. When we have non-resistant living, things start to flow and we look at things and we say, okay, this terrible thing is happening. What am I learning? That is such a great question. If we can all ask that in the face of everything, it would be amazing. What am I to learn? What am I to heal? What is being asked to heal through me? And who am I now? Who am I now taking this up level of expansion and growth in spirituality? It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you when you respond this way. It actually means you have grown, you have strengthened. It's like going to the gym and strengthening your muscles and being able to do something you were never able to do before. You're stronger. Your faith is stronger. Your grace is stronger. So in looking through your life story, is that where you're at? Is that what is happening? The denial thing is a good idea because if we're in denial, we can definitely get triggered and we don't heal. I was really good at denial for a long time. I can compartmentalize really easily, but then you get hit with a trigger and then you feel like you have no choice. So when we were on our vacation, we literally had the most amazing trip of our lives. We stayed in an Airbnb. We actually went to St. Croix, which is a U.S. Virgin Island. And we stayed in this property that when we pulled up to it, I said, "Oh, who lives there?" And my husband was like, "This is where we're staying." I'm like, "No way." So we had a beautiful private beach that was on a bay. So the waves were not crazy. And we had a pool and we had two separate houses that had kitchens separate from the main house. And everyone had their own space. We had kayaks, we had snorkels. I mean, we just literally just really hung out with the land, hung out in the ocean and played games and had bonfires and really connected deeply as an adult family. Our youngest is 21 now. So to all be adults and to be in this place where we could really enjoy one another. We went horseback riding on the beach, which was it was literally a dream of mine to go in the ocean on a horse. I don't know where I got it from, if it was a soap opera or commercial or what, but being on a horse in the ocean is one of the coolest things I think I've ever done. So that was literally just so epic. We went to Point Udall, which is the place where the sun comes up the very first in the US. So you get to see you're the first person to see the sunrise. The interesting thing about that trip was it was a 40-minute trip and I got every one of my kids to go and we had to be in the car by 5:30 a.m. And that was impressive. And no one fought about where they were sitting and they were like, "Mom, we're adults." I'm like, "I know, but it's been a long time. It's been, our family's been through some stuff." So to see them mature and get older and get along was like you just feel so successful. You feel like your family is just killing it, right? So my husband drives to Point Udall. Now you're left side of the road, same side of the car. So that is, I don't even know how he did it. Crazy. And it was a 40-minute drive, like pretty much in the dark. And we get there and there is just a layer of clouds. And I was very inspired to go there that day, so I thought that was kinda weird, and, it was funny because a couple that was there and we had to wait, we had, like, a half an hour wait before the sun came up. A couple that was there actually left. They were like, "Oh, it's cloudy," and they left, and I was like, "We are not leaving, like, something's gonna happen. I'm here for a reason." So we took pictures and we had fun and we were laughing and it was great, and then the sun came between the clouds, and it was just the most epic and beautiful sight I think I've ever seen. And it was really special to do as a family. So being at Point Udall and just taking in the fact that you're the first person to see the sunrise that day just felt really special. So we didn't do too many things. Like we did the horseback riding and we did that, and then we did some shopping one day, but we basically stayed on property because it was a 60-acre property that was so beautiful. Saw iguanas, and my daughter saw an octopus. We saw lionfish and a stingray, and the guys went out fishing, and it was just really special and beautiful time. And no one fought, which I think I've shared before. When we all get together, there's usually something, a blow up somewhere, somebody gets on somebody's nerves, and there was none of that, except for the last day. So this is interesting. The last day, we didn't leave until 4 o'clock that day, and we had a lot to do in the house. We cooked the whole time we were there, so there was a lot of cleanup, and we were making sandwiches to leave, and there was just a lot going on. So I'm getting ready, I'm packing, and everybody else is packing. And we had to return the kayaks to the place, the property manager's place, which you had to get in a kayak and bring it over. So I come out, I'm packing, I get my bathing suit on. We were planning on going down to the beach, hanging out as a family for one last time. And I'm starting to get like mama sad, like who, and I'm working with it because I know that sadness is not the greatest place to be. And I'm so grateful to be with them, but I never in all of my wildest dreams thought that I would live away from any of my kids. So it's hard. I live in California. My one daughter lives in Connecticut, and then my other daughter lives in Arizona with my granddaughter. So, we're not always together. And when we are, I really revel in it. It's like my mama heart could be no more happy than when we're all, it's like my heaven on earth. So, which I wouldn't feel if we all live near each other, right? That's the contrast of really appreciating that because we aren't all together all the time. So I'm starting to feel that, and I'm working with it. And then I come out and everyone's gone. And I'm trying to get like all this time. Like I just want to spend every second with you guys. I want to be together for as long as we possibly can. So I come out and everyone's gone and all the kayaks are gone. And I'm like, what? Like they took the kayaks out without me? Like they left me here? And all of a sudden I start to get really upset and really angry. And I like the abandonment of my childhood and my family and like what I've gone through, and like every, wound of being left out and all these things starts to come up, and I'm very aware of it. But I'm also getting really pissed. Like the more time that goes by that I'm not spending with my kids, and the fact that no one was concerned about where I was, or just got in the kayaks and left without me, just felt really, really awful. So I'm walking around in this beautiful place and the sun is shining, and I'm trying to get, my grip on this. And I'm like, I'm just going to go in the house and start making sandwiches for the trip. So I go in the house and I'm starting to fume, and I'm like, okay, what can I do? I can listen to music. So I put my music on, start listening to the music. And then finally they come back, and it was probably like 30 minutes that they were gone. Finally they come back and I just rile. I'm just like, how could you do that without me? I'm so upset. And my husband is so amazing and wonderful. He like really talked to me. Now I made a bunch of assumptions. I assumed that they all got in these kayaks and left without me and did not think about me, right? They weren't concerned about me. And I am concerned about each one of them all the time. If they're hungry, do they need a snack? That's my mama bear. Like I'm always concerned of not leaving anyone out and making sure that everybody knows that they're cared for. So my husband talks me down off my ledge, and I snap out of it so we can enjoy the last part of our trip. And I realize that part of it is like, I'm just sad about leaving. And a lot of it, it was that abandonment thing really came up strong for me so I could clear it. So I get over it. I let it go. We have an amazing time. The sun is shining. We swim. We get our last swim in. Then we start to get all ready. And so funny. First time ever in the 7 days we were there, it starts to rain. And I'm like, the island is crying that we're leaving. Like I could feel it. The island was sad. Like I could feel our sadness. So we go to the airport, and we're in the airport, and I had to go to the bathroom, and I came back to where we're seated in the airport, a super small airport in St. Croix. And this man says to me, I just want you to know that they were all concerned about where you were just now. And I was like, wow, I needed to hear that. Like, he knew that I needed to hear that. And that was really, really cool. And that gave me an indication that I cleaned that up. So your world around you is going to tell you a lot of things. And when you assume and you make assumptions based on your triggers, based on your wounds, based on things in the past that have created this energy of hurt or unworthiness or being left out or abandoned, you have an opportunity then to heal that and to tell and to look at the world and be like, okay, this happened, but it doesn't have to mean that anymore. That meaning was my wound. My wound was putting the meaning to that. So my family didn't leave me. So this is actually what happened. My husband said, I swear we did not leave you. Emma and I jumped in the kayaks to bring them back, and we were going to come back and get the other ones and just do shifts. And while we were out returning the kayaks, other people saw what we were doing and they jumped in the kayak. So they all did it separately. And then my one daughter didn't even bring a kayak. She walked over to where they were because she saw where they went. And then they were all chatting with the property manager. And that's what took so much time. So once I found that story out and I was able to create a new story, then I started to calm down and to feel better. But it took a little, it took some shifting. Like no one's perfect at this emotional stuff, especially when it comes to childhood wounds and triggers and things like that. So I'm thankful that I have a husband who's not a jerk and who did not yell back at me, right? That's easy to do when we're in relationships, is get mad at the person who's yelling at us. He was really sweet and really kind and said he would never do that to me. And that actually was very healing as well. And then to have this man in the airport say that was like solidification that I was able to heal something. And then my family, of course, my family loves me and is concerned about me. That's like ridiculous. Like a lot of times these wounds are so ridiculous. And when we really think about it, it's like, that's not the way it is at all. So pay attention to those things because it's really super important. So, I bought these shirts. So I get these shirts. I went through this crazy time trying to get Duffy Family St. Croix in the year shirts. I wanted all the same color. I wanted to walk through the airport. I could see it. I envisioned it. I saw the pictures. I got sunglasses that matched and I was feeling on top of the world about it. And then the first company I did it with weeks before we were leaving had sent a proof that I never got. And then they said they couldn't send it in time. So then I went on Etsy and I ordered these shirts and they came in time and I was so psyched. And we got them in the last day. And I thought I put them all in our suitcase, and we get to the airport in Miami. We all met in Miami and then flew to St. Croix the next day. I can't find my shirt. My shirt is missing and somebody else's. So we have two shirts that are missing. And I'm like, I can't believe that I wouldn't pack them and then not see them around my house. And I was like going crazy. And I started to beat myself up. I'm like, what is wrong with me? How could I forget those? They were so important to me, right? Like first world problems. So I'm like really upset. And my daughter's like, hang on, I might be able to fix this. So she goes in the bathroom with her husband in her suitcase, and I don't know what she's doing. Well, she had ordered us all PJs, which was so sweet. I usually do PJs every year, but I decided not to do it this year because we were doing the trip instead. And she pulls out these Christmas Duffy Family white shirts with Christmas trees, St. Croix. And it was just like one of these things where you're like, that was so beautiful and saved the day. And it took me a few minutes to stop beating myself up about it because I just couldn't believe it. So we get to I let it go. I had to let it go. It was so ridiculous. I let it go. We get to the Airbnb and we start unpacking all of our stuff. And I couldn't remember what I did with them. That was the part that was like making me beat myself up. Like, how can I forget what I did with those? And I look in my carry-on bag, there's a little zipper part, and I find them. And I was like, are you for real? Like, for real? So I told them, I'm like, we're going to take a picture before we leave. And if you're friends with me on Facebook, you can see the picture. And you can see that my husband is not wearing a shirt. So we get all of our shirts. I steam them all. We're like getting ready to do it. My daughter, my oldest daughter, who usually has her stuff together, cannot find her shirt. She had tucked it in her jeans and was walking around with her bathing suit top on. And somehow, I don't know, we still don't know where the shirt is, if it got put in a bag. She couldn't find the shirt. And I'm like, what is it with these damn shirts? Like, what kind of surrender do I need to have for these shirts? So I let it go. My husband's in the back with no shirt on because he sacrificed his shirt. And I'm like, talk about surrender. Talk about surrender and just like silly little things that can get you to beat yourself up. Like, so I'm like, what is it with these shirts? So I still don't know what the lesson was there, other than I need to surrender and let go of this perfect little picture of what I need everything to be. Maybe that's all it is, just letting go. Because when we have this expectation that everything needs to be perfect, and this happens with, especially when you're spending a lot of money to take your family somewhere and they don't get along and things don't work out that you thought, you could really ruin a trip that way. So it's letting go, healing whatever needs to be healed, and then coming back to the table and saying, I'm going to keep myself in a high vibration. Because as you kick your vibration down, as you let things wear on you, and you continue to pulse that awareness of like frustration or aggravation or letting things piss you off. Like, I'm so fortunate that I have a family where most people are able to let things go, because when we get ticked off about things, that's when we create more of that. And the law of attraction, the law of inertia, it doesn't stop. You can create it in the beginning, but once you get momentum going, it's not going to stop until you shift the energy field and send a different signal. So keep that in mind, because there's a lot of ways that we can ruin energy by cranky servers, or a meal that didn't come out right, or a flight that was delayed, or different things like that. Our flights were so flawless and so moved through. Like, the way home, I was like, it was just perfection. As uncomfortable as it is, it was really perfect. When we landed and got to all of our flights, like we were separating in Charlotte, and then just the bags were there and we got on the plane, and then it was just amazing. I'm just like amazed at universal flow when you are in this high vibrational state of happiness and relaxation and peace and joy. And no, you do not need to go to a tropical island to get there. It helps. It definitely helps. But you can do it in your everyday life by making decisions. This is an abundance conversation. I promise this has to do with abundance. By making decisions incrementally throughout your day, one by one. How am I responding to this? Am I going to let this little thing tick me off? Or am I going to look inside and see what's asking to be healed? What do I need to learn for this? From this? How am I going to respond to this? Am I in the identity of an abundant person? Or am I putting a ceiling on myself? Am I feeling broke? Am I feeling in despair? Am I feeling down? Am I feeling low? I was talking to two different people recently that have gone through some really tough times, and they're just really in the struggle, really in the like beating themselves up about relationships that didn't work out. And the thing about relationships like that, or life lessons that are happening, and you beat yourself up, and when you beat yourself up, you don't allow growth to happen. So beating yourself up is like the worst thing we can do. And obviously I still have some room there, some room to grow with that, some room to, especially when it comes to forgetting things or details, because I have had some struggles with that. And it's like, it can be very frustrating when you're aware of something and you feel like it's not changing. Very frustrating. But in order for me to change it, I have to stop beating myself up about it. And I have to let it go, because I actually did have the shirts. How ridiculous is that, right? So when it comes to relationships, when they don't work out and you look at them and you're like, oh, I did this and this and this, and I shouldn't have done it, or I let this person do this and this and this, and I didn't have boundaries with them, that's when a lot of the growth is happening. Expansion and growth, clarity of what you want from the new person that you're going to attract. And you can't attract that new person when you are in the grieving and the sadness about the person who didn't work out. So that is also my friend who emailed me. It is that up level of trust, that up level of faith, that up level that everything is working out for me. And that if something didn't work out, it wasn't meant to be. And when you shift into that energy, but so cool, it showed me where I want to go. It gave me clarity about what I want to do next. It gave me clarity. Now I know who I don't want to be with. I really know who I do want to be with. So that clarity gives you so much to work with. And then write it down. Now's a really good time to write it down if you're coming off of that breakup or you're coming off of clarity, confusion about something. That's a really good time to dive in and say, what did I not like about this? So what do I want? It's really good clarity. It's a really good time for you to write things down, to command demand, right? Command demand, universal alignment, orchestration, divine energy to assist you. I create my reality. I create my reality. And I do that in conjunction with, in the co-creation process of inviting in divine energy. That's where the magic is. If we're always trying to do everything on our own, it can be very hard. It can be very challenging. It can be very exhausting. We don't want to be exhausted. If we're exhausted, we're not putting out a good life force. We're not putting out happiness and lightheartedness and the stuff that abundance is made of. We're putting out crap in the universe. So we have to tune into that energy of flow, of non-resistance, of raising our vibe, realizing that we're in charge of our vibe in the beginning, right? Once our vibe gets funky, it's a little hard to control and it's a little hard to manifest what you want when you feel that way. And I knew that when I was facing that feeling of abandonment. I'm like, I don't want to continue to attract this. I'm very aware of that. So I got to get my bearings. I got to release it. I got to come back together with my family. And it's hilarious because my family, there's a couple of them that do not like confrontation. So we had some cockroach stuff going on at the house, which was kind of hilarious. And they were giant cockroaches, and they were not dirty city cockroaches. They're like island, and they would often be dead. So I think they had actually sprayed for them. But we call it the cockroach shuffle. It's like everybody's running the cockroach run. Like if somebody, like when I started yelling, a couple of them just ran to the beach. Like they don't want to know nothing. So that's a mechanism for some people. They can't handle confrontation. So it's not the best way to communicate, but it happens. So yeah, we had a really good time. It was a good, amazing, incredible vacation. And if you are ever interested in going to the Virgin Islands, St. Croix was where we actually went. I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it. Though, I feel like this property definitely made where we went. I don't know that I would have had as good of a time if we weren't in this incredible place. So bear that in mind. But I do know people that go there every year, and God, the beaches, you can't beat the beaches. They're just that beautiful blue water. I am definitely in love with the Caribbean. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I don't know too many people that aren't when they see that beautiful blue ocean. All right. So abundance ceiling, we're going to break through those ceilings this year. We're going to create new awareness, and we're going to put some intentions out there. We're going to live intentionally so that we can create the energy of what we most desire. We're going to manifest what we are interested in by inviting in divine energy, by putting some action in place, by following our intuition, and by deciding that we're worth it. Really stepping into that worthiness and that truth. My books are on Amazon if you are interested in getting them. Oh, this is the collection of Florence Scovel Shinn. I really, really love this book, but you got to be into the Bible. I've studied the Bible and I find it really interesting. So it works for me. The Perfect Unfolding for the Expansion of Your Soul. This is a spiritual book about manifesting. Mindful Manifestations Daily Guide and Journal. This is a hardcover book. It's really beautiful with lots of journaling pages and 100 pages of content. Quantum Speaks for Parents, and I still do not have Mindful Manifestation Secrets in here. That's my first book that will give you the science and spirituality of manifesting. So, you guys, this year has some very, very special some special energies and feelings about it. I'm not just saying that because we're in the beginning of the new year, although they do say like the new year doesn't really start until February. the time right now is to position yourself, because as that momentum takes over this year, we want to position ourselves now to start creating the energy of it and to attract what we are most interested in. So that abundance ceiling that you are interested in breaking through, that is completely and absolutely and utterly attainable. You just have to make a decision and follow this system that I gave you. Follow the steps I gave you. Sitting in your house hoping and wishing and waiting does not work. Like, you're not going to get money dropped on your doorstep by doing that. We have to say yes to life. We have to get out there. We have to provide energy for people. We have to provide a certain exchange. That's why giving money to people is not always a good idea, because what's the exchange of value? If you're used to like giving people on the street because they're sitting there asking for money, where's the exchange of value? I have a really hard time with that. We need to have some, if someone's playing beautiful music on the side of the street, I will give them money, because they are creating vibration. They are creating. So think about that in your life. When you feel sorry for people and you don't understand this exchange of value, then you end up really depleting yourself. So we don't want to be in depletion. We want to be in expansion. We want to be in growth. We want to believe that anything is possible, because it absolutely is. And it is absolutely possible for you. There is no doubt, without a shadow of anything. I truly and 1000% believe and have faith in all of our abilities to remember who we are, to create from the power that we have, to expand and grow, and to really tune into this amazing and beautiful life that we get to be a part of. And it is precious and it is gorgeous. And I am beyond grateful to be here. Thank you all for being here. Love you so much. Peace.